What's up, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about some inflation concerns, and we'll also discuss some other things along the way. Now, this video by the IMF, I'm not going to play it because it has music in the background. It might be a copyright issue, but essentially, the IMF is talking about inflation, and what a more timely um, time for them to put out a video about it. And folks, if you don't think we're headed towards very concerning times, I'd think again. And that's why on this channel we talk about these things so that we're prepared. We don't get caught off guard. Okay? And the more you're able to learn, and the more I'm able to learn, the better we can best position ourselves for that moment. That, because there's a pay the piper moment coming. No one knows when it is, but what you can do is position yourself in the best way possible. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is here, one of the Winklevoss twins that have the Gemini exchange said we're experiencing the highest 12-month inflation rate since 2008. And we see in this article that we see that U.S. consumer prices rose strongly again in May. The consumer price index surged 5% from a year ago, the highest annual inflation rate in nearly 13 years. So this is since 2008. Now, this is just the beginning. We're just getting started. Can you imagine when this is all said and done? Excuse me. I mean, it's unbelievable, and all the printing of money that we've done. I mean, to make matters worse, you know what I mean? So that's that. Now we see with zero hedge, last time goods inflation was this high, Volcker hiked rates to 20%. So this was back in like the 70s or 80s, and yeah, I mean, we're starting to go back in time and start to see the similarities between then and now. And obviously the US debt to GDP matters as well. But we printed almost half of the money supply that was already in existence in a matter of a year. So you tell me what that's gonna do. Now, there's a lot of factors at play here. It's not an easy situation to assess. It's very complex. But anyone with some sense in them knows where this is headed. You know, the government is doing things that are unreal, and it's gonna lead to a lot of disaster. And the market is not free. It's anything but free. And it's being controlled and manipulated. And the Fed is not allowing for some signals in the market to be displayed. And this is according to Stanley Druckenmiller. Listen to what he has to say.
I mean, Stan has said this before. Stan Druckenmiller has made this point before, but he seems to believe this enough to say to send this to me. The market is not speaking right now in terms of how it's reacting to these inflation numbers, and will not until the Fed stops canceling market signals. And at that point, we will know, and not until then will we know whether. So basically, saying there's no price discovery, it's just orchestrated, and we can't say the market's okay and indicating transitory. I guess. I mean,
So there you have it. And Stan is a very well respected fund manager. This guy's a billionaire. So that basically goes to show that all the data that should show what's actually going on in the market is not being displayed at all. And what does that tell you? What are they hiding? What do you need to hide? Case in point. Now we go here, and here is something I do agree with Pomp, and it's okay to have disagreements, but listen to what he said. I said all last year that the stimulus checks would end up hurting people more than helping them. Now prices of goods have increased at a historic pace, but the people don't have any more $1,200 checks on the way. The government enriched the asset owners and punished the poor. And yeah, he's exactly right. And this is something I always talked about with either friends or family members. Yeah, in the short term, maybe that $1,200 does help you, cover costs. But in the long term, the consequences of that are far worse than what they did in the short term. And so, and I told them there's no free lunch. There's no free lunch. And this is something we all have to realize. I understand there's hard times for different people, but this temporary short term relief check is not going to solve all your issues. It won't even help you pay rent. It can help for like supplies, groceries, bills, small bills. But this is a small, check that's not going to do much. And I think that's what people need to realize, that it's not free money. It's not. Anyways, moving on. Regulation is coming, and it's becoming more evident than ever. And I think this crisis that we're in is allowing for opportunity to step in. And many politicians or many leaders around the globe have said never let a good crisis go to waste, because it's a way that new companies come to life, a way to implement new order into society. But it's the way it is. And I think that with cryptocurrency or CBDCs, all this is coming in, and I think it starts with the global taxation that the G7 agreed to, which was historic. And the fact that they're able to agree on that is they have an idea of how this all is going to be set up, how the structure is going to be in place. So don't make no mistake, they know exactly how it's going to work if they came to an agreement. Now listen to Senator Warren talking about the need for more regulation in the space.
Senator Warren, thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with the digital currencies that are going up and down every day a lot. You started the hearing with some pretty harsh words for them, saying they've failed to deliver on some of the promises of a more inclusive financial system. They're volatile. They're not good for spending. In your view, do they need to be regulated further? And is there something specific in mind that you have that would sort of bring this area under control better?
So this was our first hearing on digital currencies, and we had a chance to talk with experts, bring in a lot of senators around it. But the bottom line was that what's happening right now in cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin and Dogecoin, it's a wild west out there. And it makes it not a good way to buy and sell things, and not a good investment, and an environmental disaster. So do we need some regulation around this? You bet we do.
And coming out of her own mouth, you hear that. Now, World Economic Forum reports or singles out XRP as most relevant for wholesale CBDC, and Sheila Warren was part of that. Now, a wholesale CBDC is what we want. It's high value transactions that they're talking about, he says here. And the BIS has said that the G20 has made enhancing efforts across border payments a priority, and laid out a multi-year roadmap to coordinate efforts. And we see here Benoit Corre, I'm butchering his last name. The experiment contributes to this work by exploring how your WCBDC would enhance speed, efficiency, and transparency in cross-border use cases. And we see that here in this World Economic Forum report. They literally list XRP as a wholesale cross-border payment that's best for settlements. And so there you go, connecting the dots. Now, this is Michael Burry, and he's talking about that breaking point in which the government crosses the line. Listen to what he has to say.
Well, I think the point at which the degree to which we can tax our population is eclipsed by the amount of our interest on our debt. Basically, makes us a Ponzi scheme of some sort, and I think that's the point. I think it's very hard to pick that spot. There's a long, long history. This is one of those things I think our leaders, our government are kind of in this teenage state right now. There's this long history we can rely on for a more mature view of how things work. And I think there's a long history of governments lasting a whole lot longer than they should. Well,
And there you have it. And that's Michael Burry. Hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe, comment below. As always, I like hearing from you. This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.